What's going on, guys? This is Michael with the Shutter View, and today we're going to be talking about the one lens that I recommend to almost everybody to start with when you're beginning your wedding photography journey. Now, this is definitely going to be my opinion, and I have 12 years experience in photography, and much of that was wedding photography, even though I do dabble in other types of photography. It's primarily weddings. And this is also the lens that I've used throughout most of my photography career. And this lens right here, I have it with me. This is going to be right there. You can see that. This is a 24-105 f4 lens, and I know it's Canon. I use Canon, but every lens manufacturer company, camera brand, they make a variant of this lens. So 24-105 f4. This is what I would call maybe like a mid-ground prosumer lens. But don't let that fool you. This lens has amazing capabilities, and it's got a lot of amazing features, which we're going to go through, and why you should choose it when you're doing wedding photography. So the big reason why I use this most of my career as a wedding photographer is primarily two things. One is f4 is a very good aperture to be at when photographing. And yes, the low light performance isn't like incredible compared to like an f2.8 or even an f1.8 or even lower. I would say just overall f4 gets the job done. It works just fine. It produces incredible images. I'm going to throw up some images on screen that I've done, some photos I've taken with this lens, and it's a great lens, and it honestly is one that I recommend the most just because its cost and its value, and the fact that, f4 fixed, and then it also does 24-105, which is something that we're going to discuss, is the real reason why I recommend this lens. So a lot of people will shoot on fixed focal length lenses, such as a Nifty 50, or like this little one right here. This is a 45 f1.8 fixed focal length lens. And why I don't recommend fixed focal length lenses for a wedding photographer, I know it's a little bit controversial because a lot of people shoot weddings on fixed lenses, but for me personally, I love the versatility of being able to change my focal length on the fly without having to change my lens or switch to another camera. A lot of people I know will switch between typically a 35mm and 85mm, so they'll carry two cameras with them. And you might see people recommend this, but personally, I think the variable zoom on this lens is what really just makes it stand out. Is situations where, let's say, you're photographing establishing shots outside of a church. So I do photograph a lot of Catholic churches, and if I want to get a wide shot of the church, because I love getting an establishing shot, you have this big church in front of you, and you have one lens on you, and let's say it's a 50mm Nifty 50, you're going to have to step pretty far back to grab the entire shot of that church. And that being said, when you're shooting, and this one goes down to 24mm, which is very wide. I wouldn't call it ultra wide or anything. You're going to be able to take a better looking photo with a wide lens when it comes to photographing buildings and interiors, exteriors. Ask any real estate photographer, they always like wide lenses because you want to get everything in the shot. And that's difficult to do with a fixed focal length lens. Now, yes, you can carry a wide lens with you. You can carry a 50mm with you, and you can carry your zoom fixed length lens with you. But in the end of the day, having the ability to not remove lenses, and this is like your one lens to rule them all, this gets the job done. That's why, again, I highly recommend it to you guys. Another reason behind this lens is it's just so lightweight. Like, it's really light. I know there's a 24-70 f2.8. It's a more expensive lens. It's heavier because it's got like way better quality glass in it, but for this gets the job done, and I've used it about 80% of the time as my career as a wedding photographer. So this is the one I always recommend to people getting started in wedding photography, is a 24-105 f4. Now, again, going back to being able to zoom with a lens, and why it's important is because if you're in a church, and I've had this happen before, you'll have times where the venue or the church will tell you, hey, we have restricted areas where you cannot photograph. And typically they're around the altar or wherever the ceremony is taking place. So they'll ask you to stay behind the pews. They'll ask you to not go maybe halfway up the pews so you're not blocking people's view. And because the church is really picky about that, which is completely fine. But if you're stuck in a situation where you're having to photograph from the back of a church with a 50mm fixed length lens, you're kind of honestly SOL. And that's a situation that you don't want to be in, because, you know, that's going to make it more difficult to just get the shot you want, the shot you're envisioning in your mind. This is why the zoom helps out a lot. And 105mm is plenty to reach across, I would even say, a decent sized church if you're in a restricted area. And then also with the zoom, you can also get what I call reaction shots. So I like to get shots of the parents reacting. Maybe they're tearing up a little bit, or they're smiling and stuff like that. So I'll turn around while I'm photographing. Even if I'm by the altar, I'm somewhere else, I'll walk over and I'll take photos of people reacting, people smiling, people tearing up a little bit. And this helps a lot, because with a 50, then you're going to have to get really close to those people to get them in frame and to frame up a good shot. Whereas with this one, you can kind of stand on the sidelines of whatever pews and stuff like that, and you can kind of just zoom in on people and get tight shots of people smiling or crying a little bit or reacting and stuff like that. Because yes, it's about the bride and groom, but I love to capture other people who are there during the ceremony. And the same can be said with anything when it comes to using this. And then also for me personally, I would rather spend money on one lens rather than a bunch of fixed lenses that I'm gonna have to buy either extra camera bodies for, because you can do a 2 lens setup and have like 2 cameras. I don't know if you've ever seen those holsters where you have like 2 cameras, or those straps that come down. They have 2. Typically it's a 35 and an 85. With this, I can just dial it to 85, and which is a great portrait length to take like a portrait style photo. And this is just in the palm of your hand, ready to go. No lens changing, nothing. I can shoot an entire wedding on this lens right here. So this is the lens I highly recommend you guys look into when you're buying the one lens to rule them all, as I like to call it. It's a Lord of the Ring reference, but this is the lens that's going to, I can promise you, will do everything you need it to do when it comes to wedding photography. But anyway, guys, thank you. This is Michael with the Shutterview. I really appreciate you watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. And I hope this helped you make an informed decision. Take care.